Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're diving into one of the biggest names in web development, React.js. You ever see those super slick, fast websites and wonder how on earth do they build that? Well, chances are React has something to do with it, and we're about to find out why. So let's start with the big problem. Why is this stuff so hard in the first place? You know how your social media feed just keeps scrolling and updating? Or when you're shopping online and click a filter and boom, everything changes instantly? Making that happen smoothly, without the whole page freezing up or getting clunky, well, that's a huge headache for developers. And that's exactly where React comes into the picture. To tackle this very problem, some brilliant folks over at Facebook came up with a tool to handle all that complexity. You've probably heard of it. It's called React. And it was built specifically to create these amazing user interfaces, but to do it with elegance and, most importantly, speed. So what exactly is React? Okay, the official definition is that it's a free, open-source JavaScript library for building user interfaces, or UIs. Now let's break that down. The key things to remember are library and user interfaces. This isn't a whole new programming language, it's more like a super specialized toolkit. And its one job is to build the stuff you actually see and click on when you visit a website. That's the UI. Now, we've got to clear something up right away because it trips a lot of people up. You'll hear people call React a framework, but it's technically a library, and that difference is actually a huge deal. Think of it like this. A framework, something like Angular, is like building a prefab house. The rules are set, the walls go here, the doors go there, you follow the blueprint. But a library, like React, is like being handed a giant box of Legos. It gives you all the cool pieces, but you're in charge. You decide how to put them together. You're in control. And honestly, that Lego analogy is just perfect, because it brings us right to React's main superpower, the idea of building with components. Okay, so here's the secret sauce. Instead of writing one giant messy file for a whole web page, React has you build tiny, self-contained pieces of code called components. What's a component? Well, it can be literally anything you see on the screen. A search bar? That's a component. A like button? That's another component. Your user profile picture? Yep, component. Each one is its own little isolated world. And then you just start snapping them together. You build a header component, a sidebar component, a footer component, and you just assemble them like those Lego bricks we talked about to build your whole page. It's that simple. So why does this matter so much? Well, this is an absolute game changer for a few reasons. First, reusability. You can make a really cool button component once and then just drop it in anywhere you need it on your site, 100 times if you want. Second, debugging is so much easier. If the search bar is broken, you don't have to hunt through a massive file. You just go fix the search bar component. It's isolated. And finally, your code is just neat. It's organized and easy to understand. Okay, so being organized is great. But what about speed? Let's pull back the curtain a little and look at the real magic that makes React applications feel so incredibly fast. So here's the puzzle, right? Every single time you like a post or start typing in a search box, the page has to change. In the old days, telling the browser to redraw even a tiny part of the page was really slow, a super heavy operation. So how does React make it feel instantaneous? The answer is something called the virtual DOM. Okay, stick with me here. Your web browser has something called the DOM. Think of it as the live, official structure of your website, and messing with that is slow. So what React does is brilliant. It keeps a copy, a super lightweight blueprint of the DOM in memory. This is the virtual DOM. And here's how it works. When you do something on the page, React doesn't touch the slow, real DOM. Nope. First, it updates its own super fast virtual DOM. Then it plays a quick game of spot the difference between the old virtual version and the new one. It calculates the absolute smallest, most efficient change possible, and only then does it go and make that one tiny, precise update to the real DOM. It's the definition of working smarter, not harder. This whole idea of efficiency isn't just about speed, though. It's actually part of a bigger philosophy, a whole different way of thinking about code, and that's called the declarative approach. This quote right here, it nails it. You tell React what you want the UI to look like, and React figures out how to do it. Think about it like ordering food. You don't go into the kitchen and give the chef a step-by-step recipe. You just tell the waiter what you want to eat. You declare your desired outcome, and you trust the expert to handle the details. That's what you do with React. And the difference here is huge. The old way, the imperative way, is giving a robot a super detailed step-by-step list of instructions. Create element, set text, set color. It's tedious. The React way, the declarative way, is just saying, hey, I want a blue button here. You describe the final result and let React, the expert, figure out all the little steps to make it happen. So where did this thing even come from? Well, React wasn't born in a garage. It was forged in the fires of one of the biggest websites in the world to solve a very real problem.
Its story starts way back in 2011. Facebook started using an early version of it to power their own newsfeed. You know, that thing that's constantly changing. It worked so incredibly well that by 2013, they decided to open source it and share it with the world. And it hasn't stopped growing since, which tells you it's a really mature, reliable piece of tech.
And we should give a shout out to the guy who started it all, Jordan Wake. He was a software engineer over at Facebook, now Meta, of course, and he's the one who came up with this whole new way of thinking about UIs. But really, the ultimate social proof is just looking at who uses it. I mean, we're talking about the absolute giants of the internet, Facebook and Instagram, obviously, but also Netflix, Reddit, Codecademy. The list goes on, from tiny startups to huge corporations. It's safe to say React is powering a massive chunk of the web you use every single day. Okay, so maybe at this point you're thinking, this sounds pretty cool. I want to try it. So what do you actually need to know to get started?
Right, you can't just dive into the deep end here. You've got to do your homework first. You'll need to know your way around basic HTML and CSS. That's for structure and style. But the big one, the absolute must-have, is a good handle on JavaScript. Because at the end of the day, React is just a clever way of writing JavaScript. And really understanding that DOM we talked about, yeah, that's crucial.
Look, if you forget everything else, just remember this one thing. React takes the ridiculously complicated job of building modern websites and makes it way, way simpler. It does that by letting you build with reusable Legos or components, and by being super smart and efficient about how it updates what you see on the screen. It's a tool that has totally changed the game, letting developers build things that are faster and more powerful than ever before. It's really changed how we think about the web. So now that you know the what and the why, the only question left for you is, what amazing thing are you going to build first?